Greetings, explorers of the unknown. Welcome to another episode of Perspectives Collide. I'm your host, Logan, and joining me today is our co-host, Billy, my father. Today we're venturing into the vast universe of aliens and UFOs. One of us firmly believes in extraterrestrial visitations, while the other remains skeptical due to, a lot of different things of hoaxes and a lack of concrete evidence. In my opinion. So, let's embark on this cosmic journey and see where our perspectives collide.
So, let's talk about probably one of the hottest topics right now among ufologists, UFO believers, enthusiasts is there life on other planets? Are we being visited? And do you believe?
And I think in my opinion, so just to start it off with the basis of, where we're both at in this point, right? I feel like there's a possibility. I'm not gonna say that it's just completely not true, right? But mine is that there's a lack of concrete proof. You don't have something that just says, hey, there's an alien right there. You don't have a body. You don't have proof of a body. You can't just go see it in a museum. I've never seen any eyewitness testimony that has just been proven completely true. I haven't seen it myself. So for me, I remain skeptical, just with a lot of things that makes it hard and challenging to discern fact from fiction. So that's kind of where I stand with it. But I'm open to see how all of this pans out. So that's kind of where I am.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm at. First off, you said lack of evidence and concrete proof. Well, I mean, the government pretty much has said there are such things as unidentified flying objects, which are now labeled as UAPs. But hold on. And we have been researching and looking into these within the last, 2008, 2004, 2008, whatever the program was started, 2007. We have been looking into these, and we have been told by the government that we don't look into unidentified flying objects.
Okay. Where I would go with that, right, is, and we could say we agree on this part a little bit, is that we're unsure what the government truly tells us anyways, right? We don't know exactly what the government's telling us, what they hold from us. Well, so what's to say that when they tell us these things, it's a distraction, it's false information?
That could be possible.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yep.
In my opinion, there have been sightings as far back as ancient times. There are hieroglyphics, there are paintings, there are newspaper reportings in the 1800s when there were no flying, apparatuses.
Right.
That say people have seen things in the sky that they cannot explain.
But okay, let's stop there. So here's where I go with that, right? Because in my opinion, the abundance of fake videos nowadays, CGI, special effects.
But they didn't have those back then.
Right. That raises doubts for me. Of course, for like newer evidence. And there's no tangible evidence of bodies or spacecraft. That's kind of where I'm at now that we know of. But where I am with what you said with stuff in the older times, here's where I come from at, right? Like we talked about before, between me and you, is our you have like the Chinese culture that has the dragon. You have people that have created stories based on fictional characters. Monsters Inc. Has fictional characters that someone just completely created out of nowhere. So what's to say that this isn't something made up, just as a fun story, but that's built into something more?
To go along with the dragons,
yeah.
You know what they say, where there's smoke, there's usually flames, right? So, what do we say that, a dragon flies, correct?
Right.
Okay, a dragon breathes fire, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, how do we know that these people weren't talking about a big bright light in the sky, and that is just their idea of what this could be?
So you're saying,
and there have been, and I know you have said this before to me and you talking,
yeah,
that Christopher Columbus seen lights in the sky.
Exactly. I mean, Christopher Columbus, he had a whole journal of a bunch of random things and crazy things that he had witnessed and saw for himself that he took back and let people see, and, all these creatures. But a lot of them also came out to be creatures that we know today that just were something he had never witnessed before.
But again, we discover new things all the time.
I mean, you're right.
And listen, when we say UFOs and aliens, I mean, I'm not to the point to where, I do believe that there has to be, with all the abundance of stars, there has to be another planet somewhere in the galaxy that is like ours.
And I think we're going to eventually get onto a really great topic of creation, and kind of our opinions on that. So I guess that would also roll into that once we get into that. But, a lot of people don't even believe that there's a lot to space we even know that, or even if space exists.
And who's to say? But here you go. You're talking about space.
Yeah.
How do we know that, the Earth is made up of mostly what?
Water.
And here lately, a lot of these UAPs, UFOs, have been submersible machines.
And in my opinion,
who's to say they're not from here?
But here's my opinion.
Not
what do we classify as UFO? What does UFO stand for?
Unidentified flying object.
So in our account, anything that you see in the sky, that if you can identify as a legit plane,
here's the thing,
whatever, we could say, hey, that's a UFO.
But hold on, real quick.
And with today's stuff, there's so many drones and new things that we have flying around, and like we talk about with the government, what we don't know. What if there's what if UFOs were always a government thing that we don't know about?
In that situation, you got to realize that if there's something flying in our skies, and the government's already said it's not us, it's not Russia.
But how can we believe that?
I understand that, but here's the thing: we can't, because if somebody's pointing a gun at your head and saying, if you talk, you're gone.
Exactly.
I mean, because people keep saying, well, with thousands of witnesses and thousands of people that have to keep stuff in the government, secret. Well, I mean, if somebody threatens me with my life or my family's life, guess what?
I'm going to lie.
I'm going to lie. You're right.
But that's the best thing about this podcast, I believe. Because skepticism aside, I'm curious. What aspects are real, what aspects are things that are covered up, and what aspects are completely hoaxes and fakes. So I think the greatest thing about this is, in future episodes, we're gonna bring up concrete evidence that we believe is concrete evidence, at least, or footages, and things that we can dive into deeper, such as, you always talk about Roswell, New Mexico. That's a huge one that we're gonna have a lot to talk about, possibly 2-parters right there. And that's something that right now I'm skeptical, and you're a believer, and so throughout this series, throughout each episode, we're gonna go through different evidence and footage, and maybe by the end of this series, who knows, maybe I'll be a believer. But that's the awesome and sheer power of this podcast here. So back to kind of what we're talking about, though. There's just so much, and like you said, there's so many galaxies, so many planets, that there has to be another, just one imperfect spot like an Earth. I mean, we even see like how scientists talk about how there's other closely like planets that resemble Earth.
Yes.
So
well, if our sun is a star,
right?
And there's a perfect planet in the same position that we're in.
Yep.
You got to believe there are organisms that live on that planet.
And that's what I'm talking about. Because like the creation theory and all that stuff, we got a lot to talk about there.
You keep saying that, but we'll talk about that later.
We're gonna get to. I'm just saying.
Let's talk about what we know and what we're going to plan on doing in this first season.
Right. We're gonna go through all about aliens.
We
UFOs.
want, in my opinion,
Yep.
we want you on our side, because look, there are things I do believe in, and I'll be honest with you. Me and your mom has had some things we've seen that were definitely odd. And to us, they were UFOs.
Well, so we don't have concrete evidence on that. So let's just go on and talk about that right now. Tell our listeners, in this first episode, why you've had your own encounter and feel so strongly on believing.
Okay, when me and your mom first got together,
Yep.
She played softball on a women's team.
Okay.
And I was a coach, and we had a practice in Wilmore, Kentucky. And we were there for hours. We got there during daylight.
Okay.
And by the time we left, it was dark. There was like me and your mom and 2 other people there, and we just kept, hitting and snagging balls and that kind of stuff. So me and your mom left, and we're going back toward Nicholasville. and we get to a spot to where, we see these 3 lights in a triangle that are, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the way it looked like it was pretty much hovering over top of us.
Okay.
And it was about the height, I think, of I mean, it might have been
like a drone.
No, I mean, it was bigger than what a drone
But
would
like
be.
the height of a drone.
Well, I mean, no, it wouldn't have been
So
that high. I mean,
higher.
I would say it would probably be 100 feet up in there. I mean, that's my.
So you're saying
that's
like
my guess. It was pretty. It
not
was pretty
too
big.
far over like a light pole.
Yes, it was pretty good size.
Okay.
Now,
but let me ask you
and
this
the thing
question
was-
before you keep going.
Okay.
Was the lights flashing? Did you have?
No.
I mean, you said triangle.
Solid white.
Okay.
Round
But
lights.
it was moving.
Yes, it was moving.
Okay.
It was
Did it
pretty
have?
much
Did it have
following us.
sound?
No sound.
No
it
sound,
was pretty
okay.
much following us.
Okay.
It had a light in the front, 2 lights on the back.
Okay.
And at a certain point, it made a 90-degree turn.
So wait,
And
while
shot
it's following, how fast would you kind of say that it's going?
Yeah,
What do you see
well,
in
I
its
mean,
speed?
you know how fast I drive, so I'm doing probably 65, 70 on the little road. I mean, and it was pretty much like right with us. Now, people are like, oh, airplane. Well, there was no beacon lights.
And an airplane would pass you all a lot
Oh yeah,
faster.
airplane would have been
Yeah,
going.
and,
I mean,
and if it
would've
was a
been-
helicopter, you would hear it,
helicopter,
Okay.
we would have heard
and
something.
it would not be triangular lights.
No.
I mean, the only thing that would have been triangular lights
And
would
it's
be
still-
an airplane, but there's no way at that distance
No.
and height.
and the lights were huge. I'm
Exactly.
talking, they were huge.
And if it's going that fast, okay, so I'm with you. I'm tracking.
Okay, so, it takes that 90-degree turn and then shoots off.
Just like complete stop.
I mean, it's
And
just
then
like
goes.
90-degree turn,
Okay,
and it just shoots
okay.
off to my left.
Right.
So
And mom's not someone that
No, she
completely
doesn't.
believes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So to give you all kind of backstory on my mother, she's coming from a religious background of Christianity. So she's not gonna be one to just be like, yeah, it's definitely an alien. So for her to be on my dad's side on this and to say that they did see something that she doesn't truly know
or understand because
does
she didn't-
does give me something that I'm like, if my mom's strongly feeling about this, I can't say that it didn't happen.
I mean,
And-
because
and mom's
she
had-
wouldn't lie. I mean,
And mom's had another account where she said she saw the big light in the sky in Lexington that just was
Well-
like there and then completely gone.
Well, that was me and her.
Yeah,
That
right.
was-
So
that
we
was
had
it.
another one. Right?
Okay, so me and your mom are going to work. We
Okay.
worked in Lexington, and it's early morning, and it's a time that when we leave, it's daylight outside. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I mean we had to be at work at 8:30, so it was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock,
Okay.
and we're in Paris, Kentucky, and we're driving toward Lexington, and we get to there's a movie theater, or what they call it, drive-in.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a drive-in there. And, your mom's sleeping. I'm driving. So we get close to the bypass.
Okay.
And I'm looking over toward, the bypass, like middle of the bypass, over toward a place called CMWA. And there's this big bright light in the sky. I mean, it's just hovering. There's no movement, no anything. So I watch it for a couple minutes. And I'm just like,
Like a spherical light or
just a bright light. I mean,
Okay,
just
okay.
one single bright light. It
like
looked,
someone's just
it looked
shining
like
a flashlight in your face.
it looked like it was a sun in the sky,
Okay.
but not the sun because it wasn't as
Right.
big.
Of course.
So we're driving down through there. So I get to a point to where I'm sitting here watching, and I'm like, I'm gonna get Sandy up and see what she thinks it is. So I was like, Sandy, get up. Tell me, see what you think this is. Because at first I thought it was a helicopter. I mean,
Right.
because sometimes they have the lights in the front of the helicopter, but it was stationary, and I watched it. It never moved. So I wake her up. She gets up, looks over toward the ball of light, and it just gone. I mean, just
So like just
blinks.
dissolves out.
It just like a light bulb
Just
went out.
flashed.
Just
Okay.
flashed out, and it was gone. That was it.
Okay.
I mean, it had been there for at least, I had to say, I watched it for at least 5 minutes. Never moved. Then I woke Sandy up. She looked at it for about a minute, and it just flickered off. Just like it just disappeared. Nothing
That's crazy.
shooting off, nothing shooting up. It just disappeared.
And so now that you've kind of heard that story of what my dad's went through and he's encountered himself, and even my mother, something that like I said, I'm here to become a believer. I'm skeptical, but I'm very interested in hearing all of these details. You know, my dad sits there and he watches these shows 24/7.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I watch the same shows over and over.
Over and over. So he's looked at this footage a million times. Me personally, not so much. I'll watch one and one here and there, and then me and my dad we get into a debated argument.
You realize that now that we're doing this, you're gonna have to start watching these, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna dive into those 3 episodes. But the sheer volume of sightings and encounters from people across the globe, it's pretty compelling. So I'm definitely interested.
Well, what should be compelling and should help you make a rational decision to join the dark side is the fact that a lot of these new sightings have been from our Navy. And not only our Navy, but we're talking about military. I mean, military. You're talking about police officers.
Right.
These are people that are trained. Airplane pilots. I mean, trained. I mean, and we'll probably delve into this one. The Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting.
Yep.
We're talking about people that have seen spacecraft
more
seen craft.
Let's say not just people, but more credible people.
Credible witnesses,
because anybody, I could sit here any day and say, hey, I saw a UFO yesterday, and describe something out of my complete imagination, or I could fake a footage. I could take my phone right now and come up with a lot of stuff, which we've talked about, back in the day before all this technology. That wasn't even a thing. So
yeah, you couldn't do that.
There's a lot from back there that we're going to talk about. But in my opinion, it's hard for me. So I'm skeptical. You've witnessed a lot of this stuff in your time, and you're, not being mean, but you're older than me. So when you were growing up, and even, when you and Mom were young adults, and maybe even when you all were witnessing this stuff.
Well, let me say this though. I did not start believing until we had your
own
encounters. I mean, and I understand that, because a lot of people are like, if I don't see it, I don't believe it.
And here's what I'm saying is that, technology has advanced tremendously. Just even in the time that you've grown up.
So you're thinking it's just technology?
No, what I'm saying is, in my time growing up, I've kind of always been around technology. So, in my opinion, from me growing up, I've never seen it without technology like you all have, to where it's like, okay, I've always seen hoaxes. I mean, I've grown up with everything. You can see so many hoax videos.
But even back in the day, though, they could hoax. Not videos as much, but photos. I mean, you can do a video, but it would have to take a lot of money. And you look at third world countries, and we'll bring up our good buddy and family member Patrick that lives in Peru that just came and visited us. There are a lot of credible sightings in Peru. Now, they don't have that technology that, I mean, some people do. Some people have that money that can do that, but there's a lot of people that do not have the technology to fake videos and photos.
And not only technology.
Like a lot of people in the U.S.
Right. And honestly, in a lot of cases, what do people truly have to gain from... Now, don't get me wrong. There's people out there with different motives. Some wanting to become famous, all that kind of stuff. Definitely there's those kind of crazy people that are going to come up with fake stuff just because they want the attention. But,
Or they want to sell the videos or pictures to newspapers.
To get it out there. But for an everyday person like me and you, what are we going to gain from just making
in that situation though? I mean, all that does, I mean, if those people are believers, all that does is hurt the ones that are credible and know what, know what they see. And
right.
I mean, because the thing is, if I'm going to believe anybody, it's going to be a Navy officer. I mean, they're out there at the sea, in sea, they see all this stuff. And here's the thing. If the U.S. says, hey, it's not ours, it's not Russia, it's not China, we have the technology that floats, that is just orbiting our Earth. That, I mean, if there's something that enters our atmosphere, they know.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. How many times do we see on Facebook, on social media, even scientific, news outlets, all that kind of stuff, that there's an asteroid,
Oh, yeah.
so far away coming towards us. So if they can see something that big or even that far away, how can they not spot something a lot close?
Exactly.
So they know what's
around.
They know exactly. If that passes our satellites, they know something.
So basically, what we're also gonna be doing here, we're gonna see, can we find a common ground in our perspectives being different, and how other people view these things, and based off of this kind of idea of what we're talking about here. I think it's easier to transform a skeptic into a believer than the opposite. And we're going to see. And
especially if you've had...
Here's my thing with it, right? My thing is that I'm not gonna say I don't believe. There's a few things, and we'll get into those topics that I could say, yeah, I'm on the fence of. Nah, it's not.
And I have the same thing. I mean, there's the same thing. I mean, there's certain things that are out there that are
right.
That I can say, I just don't know if that's real or not.
But I think it's a great thing to have a deep appreciation for all of this stuff and a fascination with things, and to be creative and imaginative. So even if things become known to us as we probably don't believe, things like that, it's still fascinating to look into it and dive into it. But with this, I think there's a lot of stuff that we'll have the opportunity to look at.
Well, I mean, there are so many, things out there that, that we can, we got the Roswell, Area 51. Yep. I mean, a couple of people that I think are very interesting that we need to look into is the David Grush guy that just came and, testified. David Fravor was one of the Navy pilots that spotted the UFOs, the Tic Tacs, and that kind of stuff. And then, there are a lot of other people that have seen, these crafts up front and personal that have worked at maybe Area 51 or S4. That we can do there's things there that we can do.
Episodes, different part 1, part 2. A whole
lot of stuff on it.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into this.
If people are interested in this, we will go in depth, because I'm just going to tell you.
And if there's things
this is what I like. I mean,
we have this. This is going to be going up on YouTube, Spotify. So on our YouTube channel, if you see something, conspiracy theories, footages, things like that, or right now we're on the topic of aliens, extraterrestrial beings, visitations, that kind of stuff. If you see stuff, or of something that you would like us to talk about and research and dive into, go ahead and put those in the comments and reach out to us, because that's what we're here for. We want as much evidence, footage, and things like that to go over.
We probably won't be able to show it on YouTube, but we'll look at it. We'll see what it is. I mean, there are, of course, I mentioned our buddy from Peru, Patrick. We're going to have him on a little bit. He believes in some things and believes, disbelieves in others. But they just had the Congress meetings in Mexico over UFOs and aliens, and they brought in some bodies that were supposedly from Peru. So I mean, that's something that he would be good, because we can get this perspective out of
and we have, and a good thing is, we got a lot of sightings and things like that in the United States, where we're here. But even in Peru, there's sightings all over the world. And like we revisit a little bit, and we'll go into more detail, but even in Egypt, we have all of that we're going to dive into and talk about, with the pyramids, the creation of that, how people believe that aliens had involvement in that. So a lot of good stuff to talk about. And like I said, I'm still skeptical. I do have a deep appreciation for this stuff. I'm fascinated with trying to see if things are real, because at the end of the day, I'm not someone that's going to say I don't believe it just because I've never seen it. I'm not that type of person. I'm more skeptical of it. And I want to believe, right? I want to believe in ghosts. I want to believe in UFOs, aliens, and that kind of stuff. We have to look into more, of this evidence and footage and all that kind of good stuff before I'm like, I'm turning the corner. I'm saying it's there,
Well, I'm just going to say this. There's a lot of good footage that have been, that has been looked over, that has been, confirmed as authentic and not, had not been tampered and all that stuff that that you need to see.
Right.
That I mean, more than likely, if it's came out, I've seen it.
We know.
I exactly remember when it was 2017, or no, maybe 2018. If you remember, we was at Disney.
Okay.
We went to, I can't remember the hotel, but I had turned on the TV and I watched, it was an alien TV show, or an alien series with Lou Elizondo, and it was about the Washington Post coming out with,
Oh yeah,
the United States is studying UFOs.
I mean, I'm 25 years old, going on 26, and I would say, since I've been able to remember, growing up, the entire time, you've always been interested in, all of these conspiracies, paranormal activities.
Our first sighting was before he was born.
So. Right, and so what I'm saying is, I've grew up, around you being so into things and seeing these things, and I've always had a fascination of wondering what's real, what's not, and I think that's why I'm so skeptical, just because, you know, I've grown up in an era with a lot of, you know, being able to make CGI special effects. So,
and I think you just want to give me a bunch of crap a lot of times.
And what we'll get on here real quick before we head out of here on the first episode, but what I would say is stick around, because, you know, the whole basis of this podcast is that we sit in our in my dad's living room, and we'll come up with these things. Maybe he's watching a YouTube video, footage from TV shows, any of that kind of stuff, and we get into some heated arguments. So
very heated.
So it could be very well heated in these podcasts as well, and I think that's what makes this so.
Sometimes we call names.
But like I said before, I think this is what's going to make it so fun. And interesting to viewers, because we're not just coming from, hey, I believe it or I don't. We're coming from two different perspectives. So.
Well, like I said, my goal by the time we end up with finishing this first season is to convert you to the dark side. And if I don't, I failed. But like I said, I mean, there's enough stuff that I believe that is real,
right,
and is credible that, you know, I think.
But I also think, I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I believe in pretty strongly, and maybe you don't, so that's some things that I might have to be pulling you to my side as well. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to dive into it. But with UFOs and aliens, we both are pretty fascinated with the idea. Like I said, I'm all about it. I'm not on the believing side at the moment. So I think we both value the importance of critical thinking, and acknowledging the influence of all this stuff. So Perspectives Collides is about respecting diverse beliefs and finding common ground. So
and with that, which you just said, we can have our heated arguments, but when it all comes down to it, it's, you know, it's just something to debate about. I mean, it's just like politics. I mean, You always got people that debate. There's no reason for somebody to make fun of somebody that believes, or
no, absolutely,
or somebody that doesn't believe. That's, you know, I mean, we all have our right to believe what we want.
And I think even when we get into heated, you know, arguments and debates, that at the end of it, we still understand it. You got your belief, I got my
Exactly.
belief, and we still respect it. You know, as much as we might get a little heated and it takes a while to, you know, calm back down, we understand it. Like, at the end of the day, people can have different perspectives.
Right. So we would just say thank you, listeners, for joining us on this intergalactic journey. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and embrace the collision.
See ya.